And welcome to the Thursday night AngryMarks.com Pro Wrestling and Mixed Martial Arts podcast. It is a very special show tonight. We are trying to help out a very special friend of the Angry Marks Podcast Network, someone we are a big fan of. We want to start out with the Super Genie, Melissa Coates. Melissa, thank you for being here with us.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure.
Your biggest guest.
Yes, indeed, our biggest guest and one of the biggest ever in the history of the show. He is the homicidal, suicidal, genocidal, death-defying man of ECW lore. The one and only Sabu is on the air. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's our pleasure. And I will turn it over to Kev for just a minute to talk about the GoFundMe and ask Melissa a couple of questions, and then we'll continue from there. So, Kevin, the floor is yours.
Well, Thank you, Steve. I just wanted to let all of our listeners know that we are helping out with this fundraiser for Melissa, and on behalf of Sabu. Melissa will definitely talk about this in just a moment, but Sabu's had some health problems for the last couple of years now. He needs our help, so. You know, what we do in the wrestling communities is the same thing, you know, whether we're on the internet, whether we're at a wrestling show or whatever, we chip in with the spirit of brotherhood and sisterhood, and we help when there's need to help. So, Melissa, thank you once again for coming on to the show. Just don't mind fill in our listeners exactly what's been going on and what we're trying to accomplish here.
Okay, well, yeah, it's like you said, you know, Sabu's career has been like 30 plus years, and of course, like, the moves that he made so famous are like incredibly, I guess, self-destructing moves. He was asking about the GoFundMe. This is why I was trying to avoid having it on speakerphone. Anyway, yeah, Sabu was like, talk about you, but no, we're talking about the GoFundMe first. But, yeah, so, we, you know, just in the past, he's had a bad shoulder for quite a while. Just in the past, several months, his hip has really been bothering him. So I finally convinced him to go to the doctor, got a series of x-rays done. We decided to do shoulder at the same time. And, you know, he's got lower back problems. The discs are, you know, there's no space in between them. I don't know if that's called compacted, or I know I'm not using the right words for it. His left hip is now bone against bone, and his right shoulder's bone against bone too. And, you know, first we figured we were going to need to get his shoulder done, but his hip has kind of replaced the urgency on that because, of course, you know, it's difficult for him to walk now, and, you know, it's just got really bad. And, of course, if you can't, you know, if your hips aren't stable, it's harder to balance yourself, move in the ring. You know, it just causes him a lot of pain. It's hard for him to sleep now and that sort of thing. So now the top of the list is getting his hip handled as soon as possible. So, you know, Sabu didn't really want to do this. He didn't really want to start a GoFundMe, but, fans actually, you know, convinced us to start one because they wanted to help. They would see him at shows limping, and, you know, they're just like, oh, we'll start a GoFundMe, you know, because, well, you know, how Obamacare can be confusing, and I did try to get him signed up on that, and you know, that won't happen till January. And then the other insurance company, you know, there's special conditions that they won't accept pre-existing conditions, so that was ruled out. And honestly, I don't think this can wait until the new year to get done. So we started the GoFundMe about just over 20 days ago, and just trying to get the money together. We found a doctor here in Georgia he feels comfortable with, so the surgery will be through the front of his leg. I believe some of them are done, or in the past it's been done through the side, but, you know, we've had a few doctor's appointments and racked up some good bills on that as well. But, you know, a lot of fans have been really cool donating and helping out, really encouraged us to do this, and a lot of people are planning benefit shows for him, so I'm going to arrange those in the next coming days and announce that too. And, you know, things are coming together. I'm just, you know, hopefully he'll get the surgery sooner than later. He's got some matches. He still wants to keep his obligations, but sometimes I wonder if we should do this the end of September rather than the end of October. But, you know, we'll decide that shortly. The surgeon's got a few open dates, and I just checked to make sure they're open, and we'll decide on that, in the next few days. But, he did a match the other day for Ian Rotten, and he'd had about 2 or 3 weeks off from the ring before that. And so he's not too bad, actually. He put on a really good show. The crowd was really happy, and, spent most of yesterday resting and today resting, and had a nice hot bath in Epsom salts. And he's not too bad. He's actually pretty good. So I think with the matches he's still supposed to do, and we just be careful with what he's doing, and just make sure he's stretched out and taken care of properly before the match. And a few promoters are worried, the ones that have him scheduled to do matches, because they're either afraid for him or maybe think it's not going to be a good match. But he's turning out great matches. The last 2 matches we've had, one of the last ones was with Rhino, and the crowd was doing the old "You Still Got It" cheer. So when he's wrestling right now, yeah, it takes a little longer for him to recover from the match, but the fans are happy. That's the main thing. Sabu always wants to make sure his fans are happy, and he always wants to give his all for a match. That's partly why he wants to get this surgery done, so he can, get somewhat back to where he was before. He wants to be able to perform properly again. He takes a lot of pride in turning out good work and having a good show for people, and he feels bad right now that he can't do some of the things he used to do, and he just really wants to get that situation taken care of, plus get out of the pain he's in all the time. He's typically in just excruciating pain. Some days are better than others. Today he's not too bad, so I'm happy about that, but some days and nights is terrible. He can't sleep at all. He's got his right shoulder on one side and his left hip on the other, so he tosses and turns most of the night trying to get comfortable. But yeah, so we got the GoFundMe going, and right now it's at $12,000, which is good. We need a lot more to get things together for covering the surgery and some of the bills we've had already. And he's going to have to limit a lot of what he does, especially for ring work. He's going to have to limit that for a while, and so we're just preparing for trying to take care of the immediate bills, and then have some to live on until he can get back in the ring safely. And then, we'll see where it goes from there. Hopefully he'll be able to get back to somewhat where he used to be. Like, of course, when you have hip surgery, a lot of doctors recommend that you don't wrestle at all anymore, but, tell that to any wrestler. None of them ever wants to give up being in the ring. Nobody does.
Right.
So that's where it's at. So yeah, thanks for having us on to promote it. And I think you have it listed on Twitter and on our timelines. It's GoFundMe.com/ProWrestlerSabu.
Yeah, we've got that listed on our Facebook feed, our Twitter feed, live on the website right now as well. GoFundMe.com/ProWrestlerSabu. You've gotten well over 300 people who have shared and made donations, and like you mentioned, that looks like those donations are over $12,000 right now. So it's definitely a good start. You mentioned
yeah, I think so.
You mentioned a few minutes ago, about the difficulty of getting something like this started, and I can definitely relate to that, because it was back in February when my wife had a very serious health incident come up, and it just completely caught us off guard.
Wow.
It was literally a life or death situation, and just the stress of trying to deal with that, it is bad enough, but when you don't have the insurance lined up, and there's just so many other factors that go into it, and a lot of people don't realize it unless they've been through a trauma. This isn't.
Yeah, they don't.
You're not just talking about the health of an individual, but it takes a whole family to help recover from something like that, and that and that means you have to take time off of work. You have to worry about your job. You have to worry about kids. Meals. There's so much stuff that falls apart.
Yeah, it's very. I'm sorry to hear about your wife. I wasn't aware of that. I hope everything
Yeah,
good
she's
now, but yeah, you just yeah, people don't realize that at all. I mean, for the most part, things have been very supportive, but occasionally you'll get like some angry fan who just says really rude or just, they just say nasty things, and because they completely don't understand.